Hello everyone and welcome to the June edition of Grafton Minute by Minute, a magazine that features events that take place right here in the town of Grafton. I'm Bob DeToma. On this edition I have two conversations. The first takes place with the new town accountant. Her name is Anita Patel and we'd like to introduce you to her. Good morning everyone and welcome to Conference Room A. My guest seated beside me is Anita Patel and she is the new town accountant for the town of Grafton. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. So the purpose of this chat is to get to know you better and the viewers at home, for them to get to know you.
Great.
And so you are newly hired, so to speak, and you are the town accountant.
I am.
And so tell us about yourself a little bit, some personal items, not too personal, but...
Okay. I moved to town a little under a year ago.
Okay.
With my husband and my two children. We have two boys.
Mm-hmm.
Both attend South Grafton Elementary School.
Okay.
Before coming here, I worked for the Department of Veteran Services in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
I worked there for a little over 2 years as their chief financial officer. And before that, I worked for the state treasurer's office for 8 years, and I was their CFO as well.
Okay, so you went from a state job to a federal position?
A state job to another state job.
Oh, the veterans, okay.
To here, yeah.
All right, I understand, okay. I wasn't aware that the state had a separate division for veterans. I always thought veterans benefits and veterans affairs were always a federal
No,
position.
so they're different. So there's a federal, which is the VA,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's a Department of Veteran Services, which is under Health and Human Services Secretariat. That's under the governor's office.
I see.
So I essentially worked for the governor.
Okay. Did you have a lot of interaction with veterans, or did you find that type of work rewarding, or?
It was very rewarding.
Mm-hmm.
I did work with veterans. A lot of my colleagues were veterans.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a lot of public-facing time with the veterans, only because I was with the finance department.
Sure.
But I did work with our peer counselors and our individuals that were in charge of our benefits.
Mm-hmm. And how long were you in that position?
About a little over 2 years.
Okay. So you eventually you moved to Grafton. What attracted
did.
you and your family to Grafton?
Well, we had lived in a town just about 5 miles away, and we were looking for something, a town with a better school system. That was our number one priority for our kids growing up. And number two, I wanted something that would be for closer proximity in order to get into Boston. And since Grafton has a commuter rail and it's right off the Mass Pike,
Mm-hmm.
it was our number one choice.
Interesting. So, as a little girl, did you want to be an accountant?
I did not. I did not. I don't know what little girls do strive to be an accountant. As a little girl, I actually wanted to be a dermatologist.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I don't know what changed my mind.
Right.
And then later on, I think high school, college, I wanted to actually work for the FBI.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to work like in counterterrorism.
Really?
I did.
So how did that thought process work? What prompted that? What attracted you to the adventure of being an FBI agent, especially in counterterrorism? I mean, that's...
I think it was TV, I'm not going to lie.
Okay.
I think it was watching Alias on TV and watching, some FBI, CIA series on TV that mostly got me interested in it.
And then what steered you away from it? Because obviously you're not an FBI agent.
No, I'm not. I think family. I don't think I was willing to leave my family to go across the world or even move across the United States. I think I'm a big family person, so I really wanted to stay closer to my mom and my sister.
Yeah, yeah. They didn't apply any pressure on you, did they?
No, not
Did they
at
know
all.
you wanted to be an FBI agent?
Oh, they most certainly did.
And what did they think of that?
They thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So you ended up in accounting,
I
and
did.
you ended up here in the town of Grafton.
did.
Good. So what do you do at home when you're not working? What do you do to relax? What do you do with your family? What do you do with your boys?
We're a big soccer family.
Okay.
My husband's from England, so we're getting ready to watch the Euros this weekend. I think they're on for 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Don't quote me on that, but I think they're on for 6 weeks. So we're a big soccer family, so we play a lot of soccer. We do a lot of activities with my kids, and we like to travel as well, and we like to bake cookies all the time.
So when you're by yourself and you have mommy time, what do you do?
I don't think I really have non-mommy time because I have two boys.
Yeah.
So I feel like girls are a little bit more independent maybe because the boys just want to be with me 24 hours a day, no matter where I am or what I'm doing or what they're doing. They have to be able to see me at all times.
So no hobbies or interests other than taking care of two boys?
Well, no, I mean, I have a lot of hobbies right now.
You just don't get to them?
I just don't get to them. I was a big yoga person before. I do spinning, and I like to go running.
Okay. Spinning is the stationary
Cycling,
bicycle?
yeah, cycling.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Yeah,
Took me a
cycling.
while to figure that out because
Yeah, it is really intense. It's for an hour.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I've heard people tell me, oh, I do spin class, and I know for the longest time I had no idea what that meant.
That's, yep. So it's a stationary bike.
Right.
Yeah, it's a stationary bike. And then yoga, it would be, I usually do Bikram yoga. So it's an hour and a half, and it's an intense heat. It's like over 90-degree heat.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because they turn the heat up, or just because you're in an enclosed space?
No,
or how
because
does-
they turn the heat up.
They turn the heat up to
Yeah.
get you sweating.
Exactly. So as soon as you
Interesting.
walk in the room, you start sweating.
Oh, wow.
It's to detoxify all of your organs
Sure.
and everything.
Sure.
It's really good.
Wow. So your husband's from the UK.
My husband's from the UK.
Is he a cricket fan?
He's not a cricket fan.
Get out.
He is not. He is a proper football fan.
He's a proper football.
Yeah. Not an American football. a
No, I
football,
understand. Yeah.
Football fan. He is.
So who's his team?
Liverpool.
Liverpool.
Yeah. We all have Liverpool jerseys.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. That's interesting.
And then during the World Cup, we
oh
have
yeah,
to,
I'm sure that was huge.
Well, we always vote for the U.S. secretly, me and my two boys.
Sure.
But out loud, we have to vote for England as well.
So how has your experience in Grafton been? You're happy with your decision? People in Grafton have accepted you. You appear to have got into your new role, and you are happy and walk through the building and
It is.
say hello to everyone. So
It's the best decision I ever made.
good.
Yeah, it's very nice. Everyone's very kind.
Mm-hmm.
I work with a very bright, intelligent woman right in the accounting office. I very much like working with her as well. I think it counts when you work with people that are competent and that are good people.
So what was your number one challenge when you came into this new role? What did you have to tackle first?
I think the number one challenge is going from state to a town. Like some of the accounting laws, regulations are a little bit different. Timelines are different. The way that items are processed are different. So it's just a little bit of a learning curve, but it's not something that I wouldn't be able to tackle.
Do you have any goals you want to accomplish in the future in your position, or is accounting just kind of straightforward?
No, I mean, I think there are a lot of goals. I think right now I'm just trying to settle in my new role because I've only been here for, it's only been like 2 months now. For 2 months, so I think I'm still trying to get comfortable to understand everything. It's going to be my first year end coming up in the next couple of weeks. So I just want to try to make sure, I get through 1 year, and then along the way I have a working list. I have a little black book in my office that I write down everything that I would like to, I'm not going to say I want to make changes to, but I would like to see small changes made to, just to make the process more efficient for the accounting office and maybe the town itself.
And in your position of town accountant, you don't necessarily interact with the citizens of Grafton. Your primary role is just within the departments in the building here at the municipal center.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not many residents come into our office.
Right.
Because there's really no need for anybody to come into
Sure,
the office.
sure. Which brings us back to kind of why we're sitting here chatting in the first place.
Because nobody knows me.
There you go, there you go. So my guest has been Anita Patel. She is the new town accountant for the town of Grafton. And thank you for coming in. I appreciate it. It was a nice chat.
Thank you.
And we'll throw it back to the studio.
My next conversation takes place with the new chair of the Grafton School Committee, introducing Laura Often.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Conference Room F, where I will have a casual one-on-one conversation with today's guest. And my guest is Laura Often of the school committee, the new chair.
Thank you, Bob.
Welcome.
Happy to be here.
I'm glad to have you. So we're just going to cover some basic information to get the conversation started. How long have you lived in Grafton? Let's start there.
All right. I have lived in Grafton for about 14 years.
Where are you from originally?
I am originally from Pennsylvania, outside of Philadelphia, and then I moved to the Boston area once I graduated college and lived in Brighton, as all newcomers to Massachusetts do. And
Then I
No,
screwed up somewhere.
you screwed
I never
up.
lived in Brighton.
many newcomers live in Brighton, and I moved there, and then we lived in Newton for a few years, and then we moved to buy our house and settle in Grafton and raise our family.
Nice. Nice. Have you always had an interest in, I don't know, is school committee considered politics? Yeah, I guess. Have you always had an interest in politics?
I have, actually. When I was in, a fun fact, when I was in college, I wrote a political column. We had that took a look at both sides of the issues, and I took a side. I wrote the liberal edge against the conservative corner, and we debated issues over at the time.
What a cool title.
Actually, the conservative corner came first, so we had to come up with something that was also an alliteration with
Catchy,
liberal.
pithy.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
pretty cool.
So fortunately, the internet was, fortunately for me, the internet was not around, so can't dig up my old left-leaning articles.
You spend a lot of time offering your help and your services, and you volunteer in town. Mm-hmm. Tell me about the conversation where you turned to your husband and said, I think I'm going to go be on school committee.
He said I knew that was going to happen. So I had thought about it for a little while. So the only reason I even ever got involved in Grafton, I did live here for a while, and I didn't know anybody, never met anybody, and then I saw the paper, and they were asking for community volunteers to be on the superintendent search committee. And at the time, my sister, who's a teacher in North Carolina, they had just replaced their superintendent, but he was very not education friendly. He wasn't an educator. He was from the outside world, had a military background, which is fine, but just wasn't the right fit for them. And I thought I would never want to see that happen in Grafton. I want to have a voice. So I went to the first meeting, and then there's an old story where I said, I was parliamentarian on my student council in high school, and Peter Carlson said, you should volunteer for chair. And I was like, yeah, I should volunteer for chair. Yeah. And like a fool, I raised my hand. I gave an impassioned speech about how much I loved education, how my father was on school committee, and how I should be the chair, and everybody else was sitting on their hands, leaning back, and there I became chair without knowing anybody. And I always appreciated Ken Gru's help on that, because it was a good thing. We did good work, and of course we hired Dr. Cummings. But that was my first foray into Grafton committees.
Do you know what Dr. Cummings and I have in common?
I do not.
We're both from Holliston.
Oh, I didn't know you were from Holliston.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a nice town.
That's the only thing I have. He's way smarter than me. But that's it. That's the only connection I have.
It's a good town. I did some community theater in Holliston.
Did you really?
Yeah.
See, this is all going to come out.
I know.
It's-
See, just
keep
get me
that
talking.
keep that tape rolling. We're going to get all the details. All right, so the personality of the school committee has changed over the last few years,
Yes.
just in the amount of time that I've been involved behind the scenes recording the events. Donna moved on after a long term in office, so to speak, and she was replaced by Darrell Reining, and then Darrell Reining led to your chairmanship. How did the school committee change through those transitions, through those three people and into your
Sure.
term?
Well, we'll see how it's changed as me being chair. But I think the biggest thing is when Donna and Darrell left, they had both been on for 10 years, which is between them 20 years, 10 years experience, which is a lot of changes over the Grafton Public Schools. They did a lot, a new school, a new superintendent, an override, all the changes in the curriculum, and they were the guiding voice. And then when Terry left, and then it was going to be almost completely new. So we were fortunate to have her come back and bring her experience. So there's, I think, a very good balance now of experienced and newer members. And I think that's important. I think it's good to have new voices come on with fresh ideas. It's nice to have Maureen Cohen and Jen Conley join us. Both of those women are educators and bring a lot of experience. I've always thought that Maureen brings an interesting perspective, as she used to work in the district. And we also were talking that we pretty much represent all of the buildings now with children. We don't have anybody at NGES, but I personally feel very close to that school, as does Maureen. We still have ties there. So we have a good representation of all the buildings, which is really nice, and a good mix of old and new. And we're still learning. We've only had one meeting as the new board, and we had a workshop, and we came together to just talk about our goals. And I think the nice thing about this committee is our hearts are all in the right place. We care a lot about the students. We care about student achievement. We care about teachers. We care about the growth of this great district. We're very pro schools, which I think is important.
When Donna Stock was the chair, I had the feeling that the bar was set very, very high. She ran a very professional, very regimented, business-like atmosphere of a meeting. And then when Daryl came on, Daryl was a little more lighthearted and just as professional.
Yeah.
And ran a good meeting. And then you come along, and you are even a little bit more lighthearted, I might dare say, other than Daryl. And so what type of personality do you want to bring or project on school committee?
Well, I do believe I'm lighthearted, but I do respect a good meeting. I like to run an efficient meeting. I like to be respectful of people's time and of our audience's time while getting the right information out there. So I think as long as we're all respectful and can communicate together, that's what I'm going for. Of course, if something changes and we can no longer do that, we'll have to tighten the reins a little bit. If that makes sense.
Well, have there been contentious points in the past? Because I
No, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to join, or one of the reasons why I was interested at school committee was when it was, Kathy, Donna, Daryl, Peter, and Terry. It seemed like it was a very respectful board. When I would watch the meetings, when I would go to the meetings, I could see them communicate with each other. They may not always agree, but it wasn't personal. And I knew getting on there that would be, it'd be okay. And I think we're still that way. So no, I haven't seen anything like that, but I guess you never know.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to keep it professional and courteous and polite, not that you're worried it's going to...
No, exactly. I'm certainly not worried that's going to happen. Thank you. But
I couldn't even think of a scenario where something in school committee would be heated.
Not between us, I guess, but there's always issues that can come up. And
interaction
we've
with
had
other committees, perhaps, maybe. But.
Well, hopefully not. Although I also know, we have to, we're volunteering. It's a lot of time, so I would like it to be enjoyable. Otherwise.
I asked this question of Dr. Cummings once when I chatted with him. Do you find it when you go out in public, your entire life is school committee or school-related topics? And
yes and no. I do feel like I've set some boundaries because I tend to get a little. I'll be honest. I tend to get a little defensive sometimes. It's hard. You're out. And funny thing is, when I was thinking of running, I actually approached Daryl about it, and I said, "Do people stop you in the supermarket all the time?" And of course that happens. And of course I'm always open to listening. But it is hard when you're at a summer cookout or a birthday party and someone corners you. I do think there's a time and a place to reach out to people. I like to think I'm very approachable, but I know sometimes I do get a little like, hey, I'm at my, daughter's, whatever, recital. Not that this has happened, but, and you're approaching me about a school problem. Like, can we talk about it at a different time? I'm happy to set up a time.
Sure.
But, I think for the most part, people are pretty,
pretty cool about it. Yeah. Do your kids think it's cool to run school committee, or do you get the eye roll?
My kids are still young. So
that doesn't mean they don't know how to do the eye roll.
They know how to do the eye roll, but I don't think they quite know what school committee is. So I was so active in the parent-teacher group that they were so used to that that I think they are kind of just ever since Lily was in first grade and I took over as parent-teacher co-chair. So the whole time they've been in school almost, I've been kind of active. But I guess my number one thing is I hope that it would never affect them. Any decisions that we make, they are my number one priority, and I'm here to help make for them, all their friends, and all the children in Grafton, make sure they have a very great school experience. And I hope that will be respected on the other end, that their last name, and I try very hard. I've try very hard that, that shouldn't have anything to do with it when I'm working with their teachers or administration. That I'm just a parent and just want what's best. So that's always been one of my concerns, and if it ever does, then I'll have to reevaluate.
What's one of your favorite things to do with school committee?
I get to go to extra events for things like graduation, for instance, or I'll make an effort. I'd like to make even more of an effort, but I make an effort to go, see the plays at the high school, or go to see things with that I wouldn't normally do, or go to National Honor Society inductions to see the celebrations. I mean, that's what I really like, and I like it when we can make a difference. So that is why I got on the board. I didn't have any agenda. I didn't have any something I really wanted to change, but I wanted to be able to help some of my passions, which is wellness. So I was able to join the wellness committee, and hopefully we'll make progress in that, or work a little bit. It's a slower change than I expected. It's not get on and bam, and we only have a few things we are responsible for: policy, budget, Dr. Cummings. So I was used to being, again, parent-teacher group, where if we wanted something, we would raise the money, we could make it happen, and everybody loved us. And I like to be liked, and school committee isn't necessarily always liked. So.
And it may or may not always happen like
and
that.
it may or may, and we may not even have control. We have a lot of mandates that come from the state. And I do like is advocating and working with our representatives and going to the State House. We've done that a couple years in a row, and I'm very passionate about that, to try to see how we can influence education at a broader scale. And that, again, takes time and effort. So
here's a question you don't have to answer if you don't want to.
Okay.
When you're looking at the agenda, is there anything that comes on there and you just go, and you just wish to pass over it?
No, but sometimes I wish people could be a little briefer.
Okay.
How's that?
Fair enough.
I'm always interested in whatever people have to say.
Fair enough.
Absolutely.
Based on your social media presence, it appears that you like to dress up. And one of your favorite costumes is from Frozen?
From Frozen, Elsa.
So tell me about how that all began.
Sure. Well, I mentioned earlier I have a community theater background. I like to dress up in costume. I really love Halloween, and I like to be authentic. So it kind of started, I have friends, and they used to have, or they still have, this annual party, and the costume contest was super intense. So if there's a contest involved, I'm pretty competitive. My husband is a really good sport, and he will usually dress up with me. So I just like to do it, but I like to do it right. And Elsa was very popular that year among children, not adults. But the whole family got to dress up like the Frozen family, and we went trick or treating together, and that was fun. And we did go to a Halloween party, and Matt and I won best couple because he dressed up. I can't remember the guy's name. I'm blanking, but it was
a character
from the movie. So and then it kind of just went from there, that people asked me. I had the dress custom made. I'm really into
That's a commitment.
Yeah, I commit. Like the Wonder Woman costume was custom made for me.
Jeez.
Yeah.
See, I wasn't even going to bring up Wonder Woman.
I thought you would.
You just threw that out. No, I was trying to be polite and respectful. Like school committee.
I am not. I think it's very respectful. I think costumes are fine, and they have a place. I wouldn't wear one to school committee.
Right. No, I didn't think you would. But...
Well, if it was on Halloween,
Yeah.
maybe.
What did your kids think of the Wonder Woman costume?
Oh, they loved it. That was fun. So I wore it trick-or-treating, and it was cold. And one of my daughter's friends came up to me, and she gave me a big hug, and she's like, "Mrs. Often, you're my favorite ever." So they liked it. I think as long as I'm not, time and a place.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Another reason for this get-together is the opportunity for Laura to talk about things that are on the docket for school committee, or things that happen throughout the school calendar every year. So I'm going to give the opportunity to Laura right now to address you, the viewers at home, and talk about school committee, the school department, and any and all events that you want to bring up.
Okay. Well, we are wrapping up the year, so our next meeting is tomorrow night. I don't know when this will air, but our next meeting that you can watch is our June 14th meeting, and we are having Beth Galloway from the Grafton Public Library come, and she's going to talk about summer reading. So I know that people will want to tune in for that. Over the course of the year, we talk about a variety of different things, including our budget. And we do every year have an open meeting, a hearing for people to come and listen and participate in. That's usually in December or early January. And obviously the budget is one of our biggest priorities, and as taxpayers, probably one of your biggest priorities as well. We hear from all the schools in the spring. They give their education reports. We often hear from wonderful students, which I should have mentioned is another one of my favorite parts about being on school committee. We're going to have the unified sports teams come in, I believe, tomorrow night to celebrate their accomplishments. So throughout the year, we have many exciting and interesting elements of what's going on in the district. You can always tune in. We have our agendas published. If you ever have any questions, you can reach out to me, you can reach out to Dr. Cummings. And while we're on the subject of reaching out, I urge you all to check out the Grafton Public Schools website. I often see questions online that could easily be answered just by going to the website. We always have the calendar up there, which has all the information you'll need, as well as early dismissal days. We do, I think, have one a month next year. I might be wrong on that, but we use those early dismissal days to help train our teachers and give them professional development days. So they are important. And I think that's where I'd like to end, is that a lot of times you may have a question, and often there is thought and effort that goes into it. So if you do have a question, please feel free to reach out. I may not be able to answer it, or I may direct you to the person that should be answering your question, but I'm happy to help with that. On the website, again, under the school committee's page, and we're hoping to get it posted some other places. I'm not sure if it's there yet. There's a chain of communication. So if you have a question about, something's happening in the classroom, something's happening in special ed, something's happening on the bus, who do I reach out to? It's very clearly put, and people will respond. And if they don't respond, then you can reach out to us and we'll help you get a response.
So that was a lot of information to take in, and you can contact Laura using her email, which will appear on the screen. My guest today has been Laura Often. She's the chair of the Grafton School Committee. And thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
And that wraps up the June edition of Grafton Minute by Minute. Come back and visit us in July. I'm Bob DeToma. Thank you for watching. Good night.